Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel for another deep dive. And this one, well, this was a little different.
Is, yeah.
Yeah, this time we're looking at TinyBooks, this software that says it can just like make a whole book.
I know, right? Like you just push a button and boom, you've got a book ready to sell.
It's AI, right? That's what they're saying at least.
Yeah, AI does all the work, writes, it illustrates, it formats it, the whole 9 yards.
So, I mean, when I first saw this, I was like, okay, this has got to be a scam, right?
Yeah, I had the same reaction. Like, how can that even be possible?
But then I started seeing it everywhere. Like people are actually talking about it.
Yeah, it's been blowing up online.
And not just like, random people. Like I've seen some pretty legit creators talking about it too.
Right, like people you actually trust.
So I was like, okay, I got to at least check this out, see what the hype is all about.
Right. Gotta do your due diligence.
So that's what we're doing today, a deep dive into TinyBooks.
Exactly. We're gonna break down all the claims, look at the features, try to figure out if this thing is legit.
So to start off, TinyBooks claims it can create all kinds of books.
Yeah, they've got like children's books, comics, coloring books, even puzzle books.
And they say you don't need any experience to use it.
Like no writing skills, no design skills, no nothing.
Yeah, they're really pushing this whole anyone can do it angle.
Which makes sense, right? Like they're trying to appeal to the widest audience possible.
Especially people who maybe feel intimidated by the whole traditional publishing process.
Right, like all the writing and editing and finding an agent.
Yeah, that whole thing can be a nightmare.
Totally. So TinyBook is saying like, hey, skip all that, just use our AI and you'll have a book in no time.
And that's where things start to get a little suspicious, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all sounds a little too good to be true.
Right. Like push a button, get a book, make a ton of money.
Yeah, and speaking of money, TinyBooks makes some pretty bold income claims.
Oh yeah, they throw around numbers like crazy.
They talk about how big the book market is, people making thousands of dollars per week.
They even have those little case studies. Rachel made $2,354.53 in just 3 days using TinyBooks.
Right, like it's almost like those late night infomercials.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, they don't tell you how Rachel did it.
Right, or if she's like a one in a million success story.
Exactly. So we got to be careful with those income claims.
For sure. But hey, even if it's half as good as they say, it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, if this AI can actually create decent books.
That would be a game changer, right?
Totally. And it would make you wonder, what does that mean for the future of publishing?
Like, are authors going to be out of a job?
Yeah, what about editors and illustrators and all those people?
It's definitely something to think about. So yeah, TinyBooks, it's promising a lot.
A lot. And we're here to figure out if it can deliver.
Exactly. So let's dive in and see what this AI is all about.
Okay, so the first thing they talk about is this private marketplace.
Ah, yes, the mysterious private marketplace.
They say it's like a huge benefit for TinyBooks users.
Yeah, supposedly it's less competitive than selling on Amazon or Etsy.
But they're super vague about the details.
Like, what exactly is it? How does it work?
Yeah, and why would you choose this over those established platforms?
Right. Like, what's the catch?
So that's one thing we definitely got to investigate.
Absolutely. We need to get to the bottom of this private marketplace mystery.
Okay, so we've got the AI that makes the books, this private marketplace where you sell them.
And of course, the big income claims.
But then TinyBooks goes even further and basically says traditional publishing is dead.
Oh, yeah, they really paint a picture of the old way being slow, expensive, and outdated.
Right. And they're saying AI is the future.
The faster, better, cheaper future.
But is it really that simple?
Yeah, I mean, are there any advantages left to traditional publishing?
Like, what about working with editors and getting feedback on your work?
Or having a publishing house help you with marketing and distribution?
Yeah, TinyBooks doesn't really address any of that.
So we need to take a closer look at both sides of the story.
Right. Compare and contrast the traditional way with this new AI-powered way.
And figure out which one makes the most sense for aspiring authors.
Okay, so we've covered the basic claims of TinyBooks, the AI, the marketplace, the income potential.
And their take on traditional publishing.
Now let's dive into the features themselves and see if this software actually lives up to the hype.
That's where things get really interesting.
Right, so let's start with the AI-powered writing and illustrating process.
How does it actually work? And more importantly, what's the quality like?
Can an AI really write a compelling story with engaging characters and fresh ideas?
Or is it just going to churn out generic cookie-cutter content?
That's what we need to find out.
Let's do it.
Okay, so how does this AI actually write a book? I mean, I'm picturing like a little robot with a typewriter.
It's not quite like that, but yeah, the whole process is pretty fascinating.
Fascinating, yeah, I guess.
So basically, from what they say, TinyBooks uses like natural language processing and machine learning.
Okay, those are AI things, right?
Right, yeah, that's the tech behind it.
So like you feed it some info and it just spits out a book.
Kinda, yeah, you give it like a topic or some keywords and the AI takes it from there.
Wow. So it comes up with the story, the characters, even the illustrations.
Supposedly, yeah, the whole shebang.
Okay, that's pretty wild, I gotta admit. But here's the thing that's bugging me.
What's that?
The quality, I mean, can an AI really write a good book?
A book that people actually want to read.
Yeah, like a book that's not just a bunch of gibberish.
Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
And honestly, all we have to go on are those marketing examples,
Yeah, those perfectly polished little snippets.
which we know are probably the best of the best.
Right. They're not going to show you the AI's epic fails.
Exactly, so it's hard to know what the average quality is like.
Yeah, we're kind of in the dark here.
But I mean, AI has come a long way, right?
It has. Yeah. Like, think about those AI image
Oh
generators.
yeah, those are crazy. Like you type in a prompt and it makes a picture?
Yeah. And some of them are actually pretty good.
Right, like sometimes it's like, whoa, how did it do that?
But then other times it's like, what is this monstrosity?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the question is, can TinyBooks AI consistently produce good stuff?
Stuff that's not just good, but like appropriate for kids.
Right, because that's a big part of their target
Advanced
market.
German's books.
And you got to be careful with that kind of content.
Absolutely. You don't want the AI accidentally writing something that's like way too mature.
Or just super boring.
Right. It's got to be engaging and age appropriate.
Which makes me think, even if the AI writes a decent first draft
You're probably still going to need a human editor.
to go through it and make sure it's all good.
Yeah, make sure it makes sense that it flows well.
And that there aren't any like weird AI quirks.
Exactly. Like a sentence that's grammatically correct but just sounds totally off.
Yeah. So it seems like the AI might be a good starting point.
But not necessarily the finish line.
Right. You're still going to need to put in some work.
Which kind of makes sense, right? Like if it were that easy, everyone would be a best-selling author.
Okay, so let's talk about illustrations now.
Ah, yes, the visual side of things.
Because TinyBooks claims to have this AI graphic designer too.
Like a built-in illustrator?
Yeah, and they say it can create stunning genre-appropriate illustrations.
But again, it's all very vague.
Yeah, like what does that even mean?
Right, like what kind of style are we talking about?
Can you give the AI specific instructions?
Or does it just do its own thing?
And how much control do you have over the final product?
Those are all good questions, and unfortunately we don't have the answers.
Yeah, TinyBooks is pretty tight-lipped about the details.
But, I mean, if we think about those AI image generators again...
The ones we were just talking about.
Right. Some of them can create some pretty impressive speech.
But they're not always consistent.
Right. Sometimes they nail it, and sometimes they totally miss the mark.
So I guess it's the same question with the illustrations. Can TinyBooks AI produce high-quality artwork consistently?
And artwork that's specifically designed for children's books.
Right, because that's a whole different ballgame.
It is. You need illustrations that are engaging, age-appropriate, and aesthetically pleasing.
And they got to work together to tell the story.
Right. It's not just about individual images.
So yeah, I'm a little hesitant about the AI illustrations.
I think it would be really helpful to see some actual examples.
Yeah, like show us what your AI can do, TinyBooks.
Don't tell us.
And this brings us back to that lack of transparency again.
It's like they're making all these promises.
But they're not really showing us the goods.
Which makes it hard to trust them.
Right. Like, are they hiding something?
It's possible. So yeah, we've got to be careful.
Okay, so we've talked about the AI content, the potential quality issues.
And the need for human oversight.
Now let's move on to the actual publishing part.
Right, because TinyBooks makes it sound like you just click a button and boom, your book is out there.
One-click publishing, they call it.
Yeah, super simple, super easy.
But is it really that straightforward?
I mean, I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
Right. Like, what about formatting and cover design and all that stuff?
Yeah. And what about getting your book on different platforms?
Like Amazon and all those places.
So how much does TinyBooks actually handle?
And how much do you have to do yourself?
Those are the questions we need to answer.
Let's dig in. They're teasing us, right? They keep talking about this amazing deal.
Yeah, this one-time fee, that's way cheaper than those monthly subscriptions.
But they never actually say the price.
It's driving me nuts, honestly. Like, just tell us how much it costs.
Right, like, is it $50? Is it $500?
We have no idea. It's like they're afraid to scare people away.
Maybe. But it makes me wonder, are they hiding something?
Like, are there hidden fees or upsells once you sign up?
Possibly. I mean, that's always a possibility with these online tools.
And even if the price is reasonable, we still got to think about the bigger picture.
Right. Like, what are the ethical implications of all this?
Yeah. Like, what happens to human authors if AI can write books just as well?
And illustrators and editors and all those people.
It's a whole can of worms, honestly.
It really is. Like, is this the end of creativity as we know it?
Or is it just a new chapter?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
But it's definitely something we need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. So, okay, we've talked about the AI, the features, the marketing, the private marketplace.
And the price or lack thereof.
What's the takeaway here? What should people be thinking about if they're considering TinyBooks?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to be skeptical.
Yeah. Don't just believe everything they say.
Do your own research, read reviews, talk to people who have used it.
And remember, AI is just a tool.
It's not a magic bullet.
Right. Like, it can help you, but it can't do everything for you.
And it definitely can't replace human creativity and storytelling ability.
So yeah, if you're thinking about using TinyBooks, go into it if your eyes open.
Understand the limitations. Be prepared to put in the work.
And don't expect to get rich quick.
Because let's be real, most authors don't.
Right. Even the ones who don't use AI.
Exactly. So yeah, be smart, be cautious, and maybe wait a little bit.
See how things shake out. See if TinyBooks lives up to the hype.
I think that's good advice.
All right, so that's our deep dive into TinyBooks.
It was quite a journey.
Yeah. I'm still not sure what to make of it, honestly.
Me neither. But hey, at least we learned something.
Right. Always something new to explore in the world of tech.
And AI is just getting started.
So who knows what the future holds?
Maybe we'll all be reading AI-generated novels in a few years.
Or maybe not. Only time will tell.
That's the fun part, right? The not knowing.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And be sure to check out our other videos for more tech explorations.
And let us know in the comments what you think about TinyBooks.
Would you use it? Are you excited about AI-powered publishing?
We want to hear